Hello, welcome to Student Hub. Today we are going to discuss about vocabulary based questions. Vocabulary based questions are nothing but the topics that you would be assessed in the English grammar. Now, nouns, pronouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives, all these form the vocabulary based questions in the English grammar. You would either be assessed on this through verbal or through written. If you are giving an aptitude test or if you are giving a test which needs to be assessed on your grammar based questions, that would be known as your vocabulary based questions. So let us look at the first part of the vocabulary based questions. Those are reading passages. Now, whenever you are given a reading passages, they come in three levels. Either they are easy, they're on the intermediate level, that is a level which is quite not so hard, or something which is very complex. So we will look at the easy based questions, wherein you will be given a passage with a certain amount of questions which you need to answer looking at the questions. Now, let us try to solve the first example that we have. As you can see, we have the first example which is with us, which says time for everything. The first thing that you need to do in the reading passage is read the passage completely, understand what the questions are all about, reread the passage and try to identify the answers, and then you can start writing the answers in the sheets given to you, or maybe start answering them orally depending on the situation that you are in. Here we have, there's a time to run and a time to walk. There's a time for silence, a time for talk. There's a time for work and a time for play. There's a time for sleep at the end of the day. There's a time for everything you do, for children and for grown-ups too. A time to stand up and a time to sit. But see that the time and the actions fit. This is a very simple passage which talks about time for everything. This talks about time which is available for talking, which is available for silence, which is available for sleeping, which is available for playing. Now, coming to the questions part, the first question says, which word is the opposite for a time to talk? Can you identify which line or which word from the passage says the opposite of the word a time to talk? If we go through the passage, it says there is a time for silence, a time for talk. So now the opposite of the word, the opposite of time for walk is a time for silence. So you will start writing the answer, and the answers are supposed to be in full sentences, no one words allowed. So whenever you are attempting a reading a passage, you need to write it completely in a full sentence. So you will write the opposite for a time to talk or a time for talk is a time for silence. This would be the first answer that you will write. The second question says, when is it time for sleep? So now when you go to the third line of the passage, there says there's a time for sleep at the end of the day. So that would form your second answer. So you will start your answer with the end of the day is the time for sleep. This could be your second answer, or you can even write the time for sleep is at the end of the day. Both the forms are allowed and correct. When you go to the question number 3, it says who has a time for everything they do. So when you come to the fourth line, it says there is a time for everything you do, for children and for grown-ups too. So the answer for question number 3 will be that there is a time for everything for grown-ups and the children. Make sure the punctuations are correct, the spacing is proper. There is a time for everything for children and for grown-ups too. This would be your question number 3, the answer number 3 for the question number 3. Now you have what should time and actions do together. So when you come to this part, you can see that the last line says there, see that the time and actions fit. So what should time and action do together signifies your answer that time and actions together should fit. So your fourth answer would start with time and actions should fit together. So these are your 4 answers to the passage, which this passage is very simple. Now we can move on to the other passage, which is a little complicated but not so tough. Now the passage over here says the color green is a beautiful color. Now This passage completely talks about the color green and all its importance and significance and things related to the color green. So when I read the passage, my passage would begin as, in nature, the grass that you walk on is green and the leaves that you see on trees are usually green. Most of the plants that you see are green too. Frogs are green and many grasshoppers are green too. Turtles are different shades of green. Did you know that you can make green paint by mixing blue and yellow? Because you can make green by mixing two primary colors. It is called a secondary color. Green is also the name used to describe the movement to make products that do not harm the earth. Green products are often those that made from recycled materials or those that are safe to throw out in the trash. When you read this passage, you would be able to see the questions given to them. The previous passage had questions wherein you had to write the answers. Now this passage has given you multiple choice questions. So all you need to do is you need to read the question and pick out the correct answer. So what you're going to do now is in this passage, we're going to correct or highlight the correct answer. The first question says, according to the passage, which is green? Is it a frog? Is it a bat? Is it a primary color or is it a mushroom? So is green a primary or a secondary color? So when you go back to the line 4, it says, did you know that you can make green paint by mixing blue and yellow? Because you can make green by mixing two primary colors. Because now green is a secondary color, but now we do not have the option here, so we will go to the next option which is available. When you come to the line number 3, it says frogs are green and many grasshoppers are green too. So since we have the option a frog available here, we will go with the option of frog. Now when you come to question number 2, you have turtles are, the first option, not found in nature, different shades of green, green products or not green. So when you go back to the passage, you will find turtles are different shades of green given. So your answer number 2 would be different shades of green, that is answer number B. When you go to question number 3, it says what is a green product? Now the first option that I have is one that is mixed together, one that is fun, one that is made from grass, one that is safe for earth. So when we go back to the passage, it said us that the green is used for the products that do not harm the earth. So for me, the answer over here will be answer number 4, that is option D. Now when I come to the question number 4, it says which of the following might be an example of the product green? Now the option that I have is a soft pillow, a plastic bottle that can be recycled, a frog, a big truck. Now it is asking about a product green, so I cannot go with frog because that is an animal. A soft pillow, I cannot go with that because I don't know whether it is made from a green product or not. If I look at the answer number D, it says a big truck. Now we all know that trucks are made of metal, so it cannot be a green product. The only option that I am left with is the option B, a plastic bottle that can be recycled. So whenever you have the word recycle, it means that it is a green product which does not harm the earth. So for me, the answer over here would be answer number B, that is my option B, a plastic bottle that can be recycled. When you go to the question number 5, it says green is. Now we're talking about what is green all about. Is it a primary color? Is it a secondary color? Is it a kite color? Or is it a kind of plant? So when we went to the passage, we had that green is made up of blue and yellow. So it is a secondary color. So now I have my option here C, which says a secondary color. So my answer for the question number 5 would be option C. Green is a secondary color. Now this is a middle type of a question, a middle age question, or maybe a not so difficult and not so easy either. It's a midline level question. Now we will go to the passage number 3, which is a little complicated, which has a lot of text and a lot of options to the questions that we have. So my passage number 3 says, read the passage and answer the questions following. Now this is a passage which is a little lengthy, which has complicated, which has a lot of words which I might have to give importance to. So my passage starts off with, however important we may regard school life to be, there is again saying the fact that children spend more time at home than in the classroom. Therefore, the great influence of parents can be ignored or discounted by the teacher. They can become strong allies of the school personnel, or they can consciously or unconsciously hinder and thwart circular objectives. Administrations Administrators have been aware of the need to keep parents apprised of the new methods used in school. Many principals have conducted workshops explaining such matters as the reading readiness program, manuscript writing, and developmental mathematics. Moreover, the classroom teacher, with the permission of the supervisor, can also play an important role in enlightening parents. The informal tea and the many interviews carried on during the year, as well as new ways of reporting pupils' progress, can significantly aid in achieving a harmonious interplay between the school and the home. To illustrate, suppose a father had been drilling junior in arithmetic process night after night. In a friendly interview, the teacher can help the parent sublimate his natural parental interest into productive channels. He might be persuaded to let junior participate in discussing the family budget, buying the food, using a yardstick or measuring cup at home, setting up the clock, calculating mileage on a trip, and engaging in scores of other activities that have a mathematical basis. If the father follows the advice, it is reasonable to assume that he will soon realize his son is making satisfactory progress in mathematics and at the same time enjoying the work. Too often, however, teachers' conferences with parents are devoted to petty accounts of children's misdemeanors, complaints about laziness and poor work habits, and suggestions for penalties or rewards at home. What is needed is a more creative approach in which the teacher, as a professional advisor, plants ideas in the parents' minds for the best utilization of the many hours that the child spends out of the classroom. In this way, the school and home join forces in fostering the fullest development of the youngest capacity. So, when I finish this passage, I understand, or it is very evident, that the entire passage speaks about the role of parent, the role of teachers, and the role of school in fostering a child's education. Now, this passage is very clear to me what it is all about. Sometimes the parents attend a PTM in which they would get complaints about their children. The teachers are not happy with the progress. The school is not happy with the way the child is behaving in the classroom. So, PTM becomes more of a complaint grievance cell rather than fostering the child's education through better means. So, when I read the passage, it has given me some idea on mathematics, including mathematics in daily life. So now first important thing is that I understand the passage, what the passage is all about. Once I am clear with the idea of the passage, then it is very easy for me to understand the questions given. I may not be able to reread, or I don't want to reread the passage again, because now I'm very clear with the idea of the passage. So let us solve the questions given. The first question says the central idea conveyed in the passage is, and then I have my four options given. Home training is important, that's school training because a child spends many hours with his parents. My option B says teachers can and should help parents to understand and further the objectives of the school. My option number C says parents unwittingly have hindered and thwarted circular objectives. There are many ways in which the mathematics program can be implemented at home. Now, according to me, if I read the question number 1, the idea number 4, that is option D, is very clear because it is focused on the mathematics, and here it speaks about how mathematics can be included. But if I have to take a general idea, I would rather go with option C, because now my main objective is the parents and the teachers. So when I read my option number A, it says home training is more important because this is not given in the passage, and there is nowhere in the passage that is highlighting it. So option number A rules out. When I go to option number B, it says parents and teachers can and should help together to achieve the objectives of the school. But now the passage talks about the fostering of the child's education and his future rather than the school. When I come to option number C, it says parents have unwittingly hindered and thwarted circular objectives. Now this is what is technically my whole passage all about. So I would rather choose C and not D, because D is very specific when I talk about. Coming to question number 2, the author directly discusses the facts that, now this is a general overview that I have to give about the author, what exactly he is trying to convey the message to the reader. The option A says parents drill their children too much in arithmetic. Principals have explained the new methods at a workshop with parents. A father can help his son, help him construct articles at home. A parent's misguided efforts can be properly directed. Now, when I look at option A, B, and C, these are all available in the passage. It is evident from the passage that yes, this was discussed. But my question says the author is directly discussing the which topic. He is not discussing on how parents should drill arithmetic. He is not talking about whether a workshop should be conducted with parents or not. He is not talking on how a father should help him, because it is the joint responsibility of the teachers, the parent, and the school. So my option would be D. A parent's misguided efforts can be properly directed, because now a parent is completely lost. He doesn't know how to foster the education. So my option would be option number D, wherein a parent's effort can be rightly directed with the help of the school and the teacher. Coming to my question number 3 that I have, it can be reasonably inferred that the author. Now, whenever you have the word inferred, it also says assumption. It also says my understanding and my point of view. So, when the author is asking me, or when the passage is asking, it can be reasonably inferred that the author. So, it is now my point of view on how I think that the author is trying to convince or convey the message to us. The option number A says, is satisfied with the present relationship between the home and the school, feels that the traditional program in mathematics is slightly superior to the developmental program, believes that schools are woefully lacking in guidance personnel, feels that the parent teacher interview can be more constructive. Now, I would rather go with option number D, because entire passage is giving me the idea that the school is trying to get in touch with the parent, involve parents in making the child's future a better future. So my option over here would go with option number D. When I go to option number 4, my question number 4, it says a method of communication is not mentioned or intimated by the author is the. Now, author has given us a lot of options on how the teachers can talk to the parent. Maybe it is through PTM, or maybe a face-to-face, maybe a workshop. Now, my passage wants to know which is the option which is not mentioned. So if I go with the passage option A, it says class for parents. Option B, new type of report card. Parent C, parent teacher interview. Option C, which says informal tea. So when I talk about class for parents, it is mentioned that workshops. When I talk about parent teacher interview, that gives me the hint of parents teachers meeting that we have. Informal tea is another type of activity that the school takes up. So now my option number B, new type of report card, is one option which is not mentioned in the passage. So my answer would be option number B. Coming to the question number 5. The author implies that. Now the author wants to imply, or the author wants us to follow that the option A says participation in interesting activities relating to a subject improves one's achievement in that area. Too many children are lazy and have poor work habits. School principals do more than their share in interpreting the circular curriculum to the parents. Only a part of the school should be set apart from drilling into arithmetic. So now when I read the options, it is very confusing for me, because these are the options which are already available in the passage. Now choosing one out of all these 4 is really difficult, because now I have to think from the author's point of view. So when I look at the author's point of view, I would rather go with participation in interesting activities relating to a subject improves one achievement in this area, because now the author has given me the example of mathematics. Similarly, he wants to apply all those strategies for other different subjects too. So my answer would be answer number A. So these are some of the few tricks and tricks that you can use to solve your passages. First thing is, you will read the passage, try to identify the keywords, look at the questions, again go back to the passage, try to identify the keywords from the questions given, and you can form your answers.